Today's featured partner is our friends at MRP Easy, a cloud-based manufacturing resource planning (MRP) software designed for modern manufacturers. It streamlines production scheduling, inventory tracking, and order management through an intuitive and affordable platform for startups and growing operations alike. MRP Easy automates scheduling with a clear Gantt chart, tracks inventory in real time to prevent shortages, and provides instant costing insights to protect margins and boost profitability. It also supports paperless shop floor reporting, simplified purchasing, and efficient sales management. With seamless integrations to Xero, Shopify, and other tools, MRP Easy scales with your business. Thousands of manufacturers already rely on it to cut costs and run smarter. Try it free today. Link in the show.
Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Show, where we interview global thought leaders on business, leadership, and life. Here's your host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and chief burnout officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I've got Harish Chandramowli on the line. Harish, how are you?
Good.
Really happy to have you on the show today. We were talking a little bit in the pre-show about some things, and I know the audience are going to resonate with it quite well, especially in this age of AI and everything else. So why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Yeah. High level background. I did my master's in cybersecurity at Hopkins, which led me to Bloomberg. 4 years. I had a great time at Bloomberg as in their security team that led me to MongoDB. Everything is so very technical roles. I joined MongoDB as the first cloud security hire. And if you don't know the company, it's one of the database company that grew really well, has been doing really well in terms of stock prices as well. But it was a great ride. I think around 4 years mark, it felt like the right time to move and start a new venture. And that's how Flaire started. We are a ERP for fashion brands. The reason I started is because in databases world, I have seen how so many big retailers use data, how they operate. Whereas in the SMB markets, they don't have the similar technology available. And that's what led us to starting Flaire. And I'm guessing we will speak more, but now it's more of we are trying to figure out the right approach, whether ERP is the best way or how AI as a native platform would evolve. It's very interesting, especially as a founder who is coming from a very technical background and having to move to sales and everything in the last 2 years and listening to so many people. It gives a unique perspective to marry the use cases you hear, pain points you hear to the technology, deep technical understanding and knowledge I have. And that's pretty much where we are at, and that's what we are doing.
No, it's quite the journey, and it's good that you've recognized, the sales and pain point thing, because software developers, they get presented a problem, they create the code or the apps or whatever they happen to be using, and they build something to address that pain point. But when you start hearing the human side of the pain points, and gets a little bit deeper as to what will this accomplish, that opens the doors in your mind to, okay, well, we could have it do this instead, which will address that pain point, but it also does this, which could address other pain points. And we talked again about this in the pre-show, and I always joke I should just hit record as soon as I connect, because a lot of times there's been really good stuff in the pre-show, but I think a lot of it has to do right now, especially in the late summer and North America 2025. AI has been really making a dent in software companies, even to the point where there's a lot of companies that have been building software platforms for a long time that are taking a step back, and they're looking at the horizon, and they're going, maybe we need to approach this from a different way, or use a different lens, or even consider, what, we're going to wind down the operations and we're going to launch something new that's going to be utilizing, AI instead of, the traditional ways that we've been doing things before. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So taking a step like this is a big concept, and the change in my mindset came because like one of the things like I can build very crazy analytics, reporting, and everything. And in the sales call, not even sales call, like I was onboarding a customer. One of them went like, I want to cry. This looks like a 21st century software. And the feature she was so excited about is copy paste between ERP and an Excel sheet. People are so much used to Excel sheets. So these kind of small, delightful workflow feature is what really makes everyone happy, not the NLP and everything. And with AI, building these delightful use cases for each and every users becomes so easy. So at this point, the thought process is like, hey, would ERP that we know right now, if you don't know ERP, it's like basically back office operation softwares for any businesses. Would those operation software exist as it is right now, or there is a big change coming? Personally, I fundamentally believe there is a big change coming because why people use back office operation software? One, to make their life easy, automations easy. Two, to get the reports out of it. And those automations and customization of the automations has become so cheap with AI. And the platform I want to pivot to is basically like, how, how can I give power back to business owners so that they can explain what they want? And we build like a very small specific software that just works for their business. You don't need this B2B SaaS that works for 1,000 businesses. And AI is the one that enables us to do that. And that is feasible in the last 3 months. So it's kind of like, I want to build the traditional ones, or am I going to make a bet that the future is different?
Well, one of the things that came to mind, I'm not going to mention, we'll pick on a CRM company, and I'm not going to mention their name, but they're pretty big. And or it doesn't have to be a CRM company. It could be, a payroll processing company. We know who the big boys are, the ones that are gigantic, and they're huge, huge systems. And yes, they do package those things, where you can just, get the low end modules and doesn't have all the plugins. But then if you end up finding out, well, I need that. So then they may or may not make it easy for you to add that without adding other resources. So what it does in what you're discussing, from my vantage point anyway, is it allows, easier entry into platforms that are beneficial to company specific needs. I mean, literally, it's like you're going to a restaurant and you get to customize the ingredients that you want in your dinner. And that's one of those things where there's so many software packages that we've used over the years that have features that we've never used and never will use, where with the advent of AI and building software platforms and widgets and custom GPTs and you name it, what it does is it gives us exactly what we need. And the beautiful thing about it too is because of the memory, and it keeps track of things. You say, you know what, we're adding this division and we want to add this plugin, but we want to make sure that it communicates with this platform that we've been using. Well, you just add it and it's there. It works. It all talks with each other. It's from a software designer standpoint, it's quite frankly, and I'm not a software designer. I worked in IT and worked for several software companies over the years. So I've talked with the people that actually write all the code and all of that. For them, it just makes it so much easier and simpler, and quite frankly, customizable. So you don't have to say, well, I only work with the waste industry, so the garbage haulers and the landfill companies, for example. And I say that because I used to work for a company that did that. So I know what leachate is and why they separate stuff in landfills and how the age of things. Useless information to me now, but it was useful when I worked there. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. There were features in the software that we had that a lot of our customers never touched. Our owners and the coders said, "Oh, this is a great feature," but they didn't need it. If they were a garbage hauler and they, basically dropped off and picked up dumpster bins, they don't care about the landfill other than they take, the garbage to a transfer station or the landfill, however many times. That's all they care about it. They don't need the features on how to track inventory in a landfill. They didn't need that. It was in their software. they didn't need it, but it was in there anyway. So again, it gives that flexibility, and quite frankly, the turnaround time on some of this stuff is silly, and you've seen it. How for you to, the software that you're using with Flaire, how long did it take you to kind of get that, in your opinion anyway, ready to sell to a customer compared to what we can do now with AI? What's the time gap on that?
It took me nearly like 6, 7 months to build a basic version. And now I could build it in like weeks, not months. That's how much the world has changed in 2 years. And also, just like the way you spoke about CRM is a very good example, because one of my customers is using one of these big CRMs with all the AI features. That's like nice and everything. But on a, when you talk about customer relations, especially in industries like fashion, you reach out to 1,000 people with your flyer. These are my clothings. These are my the season clothings, right? This big CRM allows you to create templates with AI and everything, but don't allow you to have an attachment in the template. That's the basic one feature that a fashion industry needs, because every season they have to send a flyer saying that this is my collection. And we just automated that part and just integrated with their Gmail so that they can reach out to people, and that's it. Now they don't have to pay a crazy amount for these big CRMs, and they get like what they exactly need for the industry specific use case. And it took us like what, a week to build that, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And because of what, AI is capable of, you give it the right instructions, and it will know, just based on, the data collection that it's assumed or assimilated or captured over the years. You basically say, okay, I work in the fashion industry specifically for children that are amputees that need a certain type of pants because they're in a cold weather climate, but we don't want them to have to buy a pair of pants and then cut off one of the legs because they don't use a prosthetic. So you're like, okay, all these people are, cutting up jeans, and there's this one waste of fabric that's a waste of materials, waste of resources, where you can say, you know what? No, we have a way to be able to design a software so there's a front end on it where the customer can say, okay, well, how long is the leg that was amputated? So that way they can customize their clothes. It looks good. It doesn't look like, uneven scissors. Like anything that I ever cut is definitely not even. You could give me one of those cutters, that cuts the paper and stuff like that. It's still crooked. I'm just not a skill that I was born with or attained in my life. But that's just a weird, wild example. But again, you can customize it right to whatever industry you sell to. It's like, we fashion to, women from Eastern Europe that are 35 to 50 years old, this, and this, and this. And you design it so that way, again, and I love the example you gave. Something like fashion is visible. You need to see it. You can talk about, here's the latest trends in this, and here's our latest designs, and we describe them through text. Okay, you can probably imagine what they look like, but you know what? You're going to sell a lot more when they actually see it and they go, that looks good. I know I can sell a lot of that in my store. I know my customer base. They will buy a bunch of that. So I'm going to load up on that in inventory because I'm going to make a decent profit on that. If you don't show them what it looks like, they're going to go, I don't really know what it looks like. It says it's got a floral pattern on it and it's, this and this. So shame on that CRM, again, not mentioning names, but good for you because you saw a problem and you fixed it. Well, now, you can address that even more and say, well, here, you guys could ditch that really expensive CRM and take care of everything you need and get all the information you want of it. It's going to plug into your email system anyway, and you're going to get everything you need out of your CRM and be able to natively send out, the flyers and brochures or order forms or anything else you want to make it easier for the customer. Because if you make it easy for the customer to buy, the likelihood of them buying increases.
Yeah. And we are in like one of the best technology changes that's happening in the world. It's the right time to rethink how software works, how company consumes the software, right? It's not just for technical people to be like, oh, the software world is changing. Even as a user, now you can demand more, pay less, and you can just try some things yourself. If you're a business operator, I highly encourage people to be like, even for Flair, like when I go on sales call, I tell people like sometimes you don't need Flair. You could literally automate most of the basic things you need with the chat GPT. Why are you even paying for me?
Well, and that speaks volumes to your character too, because y- it's not typical for a company to say, yeah, you know what, you could do this just using ChatGPT, ask some commands, and then you wouldn't need me at all. That speaks volumes to your character. So then, if you decide to pivot and you're offering something, those customers will typically remember that and go, you know what? Yeah, I can do it, but it's easier if I have somebody else do it. The power of delegation, people. Just because we can do everything doesn't mean we should. I don't want you burning out, but if you do burn out, you know how to find me because I work with people that burned out. And that's usually one of the things that happens with entrepreneurs. They try to do too much and they don't delegate enough or early enough, and it turns into a big problem and ends up making their product or service not as good as it could be, which we all suffer from that. I want people to have great software products and programs and code, and entrepreneurs to thrive and grow and achieve all their dreams and more. But I want them to do it in a way that's healthy for them so they can actually enjoy it. And that's what's so important about, the work that we do, the work that you do, ultimately is to make people's lives easier and be able to service their customers. And when we get to do that, that's when magic happens. So in closing, where I know it's because then this is one of those things where I don't like asking, where do you see things in 5 years? Because everything has happened so quickly with all of this. It's difficult to imagine. I mean, we can dream, but it's kind of difficult to imagine where things are. But I honestly do think that there's going to be really a revisiting of how software works and how we use it. And I think that's a good thing. But it creates opportunities. I know a lot of software companies are kind of afraid because they don't want to adjust and pivot. And those are the companies that tend to go away. The ones that adjust and make the necessary adjustments to survive are still around. General Electric is a great example. They have reinvented themselves several times in their history and continue to do so. IBM's another one, but there's a lot of companies that, have been big and huge, and 10 years from now, they may not be here because they missed the opportunity to take a long, hard look at what things are going on right now and what the future looks like. So in closing, love to hear your thoughts on that.
So, I mean, I don't know about 5 years, but at least for the next 2 to 3 years, one thing I know is like right now, even for my own customers, when I had like agentic workflows, it was not ready for production. Agent is not able to do everything. Whereas building the toolings they need with AI is there if ready right now for your production, that nimbleness, right? But a year from now, I feel agentic workflows, agents doing a lot more things might be production ready. It's more about one in the next 5 years. So many things are going to keep changing. Every month being aware of what are the new technologies that came up and not just what came up in the fancy way. What can be really consumed by you to solve your problem right now for your business. And that is going to keep changing every month as a software, as a business. Knowing what is coming, what is there is very important, and adapting to that is important.
It's exciting times, and I hope that everybody leans into it and takes a long, hard look at how they do things. I do that, my own organization. I go, okay, what tools are available now that can help me automate some things to improve things. Because I use ChatGPT and other AI platforms for a variety of different things, but one instruction I like giving it from time to time is I'll say, okay, here's what I'm doing, or here's an article that I'm writing. What am I missing? And that's one of those things. A lot of people, their egos, or they don't want to be found out that, oh, I'm missing something. But it's like, what am I missing here? What's something that could make this better or improve my case for this? What are some ideas? And what it's done for me is that it's caused my brain to really start thinking more and going a little bit deeper into things. And it's definitely been an improvement. So I highly encourage everybody, do that as well. So love this conversation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I can give hundreds of examples. Like I am an outsider from business perspective, right? ChatGPT helps me understand the industry, speak to you in the same language that you can understand. There are so many things you can do. The tools, lean on them.
Yeah, leverage every one of them. Don't worry about it breaking anything. It's not like it's gonna, give away all your trade secrets or anything like that. Just, play around with it, and be curious. So love this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
You can follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. I usually post about everything that's going on, all my thought process, and reach out to me if you have questions. It doesn't have to be for Flaire. If you have any generic questions around automations, running the business with these AI toolings, I am always happy to answer.
I'll definitely have that info in the show notes. So thank you again for your time today. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Michael. Are you a founder, solopreneur, or small business owner drowning in decisions, stress, and sleepless nights? I get it. Entrepreneurial overwhelm is real. From income instability to creative burnout and the isolation no one talks about, it's more than just hustle fatigue. That's why I created Entrepreneurial Overwhelm, a book and a community to help you breathe again. Go to entrepreneurialhelp.com to grab your copy and join a like-minded tribe that gets it. That's entrepreneurialhelp.com. You don't have to build alone.
Thanks for listening to the Breakfast Leadership Show, part of the Breakfast Leadership Network. Visit breakfastleadership.com for tips on empowering your business and your life.